Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Today TV. I'm Sakshi Batra and this is a special edition where we will focus on RRR. Well, not the Oscar fame movie, but Roti rice rate. This is CRISIL's monthly indicator of your food plate cost. The cost of your vegetarian and non-vegetarian thali has gone up in the month of May. The monthly report by CRISIL also reflects the impact on the common man's expenditure, and the data for the month of May suggests that your daily thali prices, which were cooling off, have suddenly seen a spurt in the month of May. And why is there a jump? To share more insights on the report and to find out how big a hole is your daily thali really creating on your pockets, with me I have joining in on the show Mr. Pushan Sharma, Director Research at CRISIL. Welcome, Mr. Sharma, and thank you so much for taking the time out for this discussion. Well, in the month of May 2023, help our viewers understand what was the average cost of a vegetarian thali and a non-vegetarian thali, and how does it compare with the prices that were seen last month versus and also last year versus this month?
Thanks, Sakshi. So if you look at a vegetarian thali, the price is around 25 rupees and 10 paise in the month of May. And for the non-veg thali, it's about 60 rupees and 60 paise for the same month.
Okay.
Compared to the previous month, if you look at April, the price of a non-veg thali was around 58.3 rupees, and that for a veg thali was around 25 rupees. So a marginal increase in the veg thali, while about a 4% increase for the non-vegetarian thali.
Okay, so what all does this veg thali and non-veg thali consist of, and how do you really calculate this average price?
Right. So what we've tried to do is we've tried to make the thali representative for India. So it has roti as well as rice on the carbohydrate side. It has chicken on the non-vegetarian side, pulses for the vegetarian side. It also comprises of curd. In addition to this, we also have, we factor in the price for LPG, as well as cooking oil, so that we have a holistic mix. And finally, the vegetable is we've considered a very basic vegetable so that it represents the needs of a common man. So we've considered an onion, tomato, and potato vegetable.
Okay, but if you could list out for us the reasons why the prices, even though marginally, have actually seen an increase on a month-on-month basis in the month of May 2023.
Right. So the major increase that we're seeing is in the case of the non-vegetarian thali, which has increased by about 4%. And that's largely attributable to the broiler prices. Now, broiler prices have seen an increase of about 6% month on month basis. And broiler comprises, which is basically chicken, comprises around 50% of the cost of a non-vegetarian thali. And that's largely the reason why we're seeing an inch up in the non-vegetarian thali prices. The other commodities on a month-on-month basis, we're seeing that the prices are actually quite flattish. But if one were to see the same data on a YOY basis, then one sees that there is a decline of around 9% in the veg thali and 4% in case of the non-veg thali. And if one were to understand why this decline has happened on a year-on-year basis, that's largely on account of around a 37% reduction that we're seeing in vegetable prices and about a 19% reduction in the oil prices.
Okay, so if you could help us, expound upon it further, the cost per thali was falling since the month of October 2022. The factors that you've mentioned that were aiding this fall, why were these factors really not supportive in the month of May? If you could help that understand that as well.
Right. So maybe I'll just zoom out a little and explain to our viewers what really has transpired over the last year. So around February and March of 2022, we had the heat wave, a severe heat wave in India last year, you would recall. During the same time period, we also had the Russia-Ukraine crisis that had begun, right? And both of these events actually impacted the supply situation of various crops. Now, Russia, Ukraine have a lion's share when it comes to wheat exports. They account for about 1/3 of the global trade. They are more than 90% of the sunflower production as well. So all of that led to a sharp increase in prices of various commodities during the period of March to October 2022. And post October 2022, we had a surplus monsoon, 6% excess monsoon. The Rabi season was quite favorable. As a result of that, we saw prices of commodities coming down, especially prices for tomato, potato, all of that started inching down, as well as the edible oil complex. And that is what led to that sequential decline that we saw from October 2022 to around March, April 2023. But closer now, because of an increase in the broiler prices by about 6%, that's what is leading to an inch up in the thali prices.
Okay, so what's the outlook then going forward? How are the prices of, say, these key materials, the cereals, the pulses, broiler, vegetables, spices, even edible oil and cooking gas, all of those really move going forward? What is your outlook?
Right. So if one were to divide it into, say, two parts, if we look at wheat, the Rabi season has just come to an end.
Sure.
Wheat prices are expected to actually decline, and the reason for that is that we're expecting a good production for wheat, and the quality of the grain has actually lowered because of the excess rainfall and unseasonal rainfall that happened in March. There is impact on the grain quality, which is going to bring down the prices for wheat. Vegetable prices as well over the next couple of months. We expect vegetable prices to also moderate, and the reason, and I'm saying on a YOY basis, and
Yeah.
the reason for that is again, if we look at the base April, May, June of last year, it was impacted by the heat wave. On the other hand, if we look at commodities like paddy, that is rice, we expect the prices could inch up or remain flat at the elevated level. And that's on account of some of the concerns on El Nino that we have, which could impact paddy production. Milk prices are also expected to increase, and that's because the procurement prices for milk, which the cooperatives and private dairies buy milk at, that has increased by about 19% for fiscal 23. There have been under recoveries on the milk side, and hence that could lead to about a 5% increase for the milk prices as well this year.
Right.
Lastly, on the cooking oil prices, we're expecting a slight moderation, decline of about 5 to 7% for the cooking oil prices. So, all in all, this should bode well for the consumers in the coming months.
Okay. So, just if you could give us a sense of, are the prices going to be moving on a similar trend? Are we going to see any aberration in the months to follow?
So prices for the vegetables and wheat are expected to decline, while for paddy and milk, they are expected to increase. But net, if we look at the overall thali, we expect it to be at this level or marginally lower than that.
Marginally lower. Okay, so that could be somewhat of a respite going forward. But we are also looking at the RBI policy this week. What is a major, indication from most of the economists and analyst community is that there could be a second time pause in the RBI policy this time around as well. How is that likely to impact the inflation levels going forward? Remember, the RBI's fight to continuously raise the rates was only to tame inflation. Now, that having been paused at this point in time, are we going to see the lagged effect of so far the rates that have been increased on inflation factor?
Right. So, I mean, if we look at the overall food prices, we're expecting them to be supportive, in terms of the overall inflation that we are seeing, and hence
Yeah.
that should give some comfort from monetary policy perspective.
Okay, and what will the impact of rains be there, like on these prices? Like you mentioned, there has been a fear of below normal rainfall, the impact of El Nino this time around as well. How will all of this really have an impact? Are you taking any of these concerns in your study?
Right. So, rainfall, of course, remains a very, very critical aspect to monitor. If we talk about the agriculture situation in India, we have about 55% of our land which is irrigated. So, luckily, about a little more than half is protected from the variations in rainfall. The second part is that IMD has predicted a normal monsoon, right? But what remains a critical monitorable is the spatial and temporal distribution of monsoon. So does it rain in the critical sowing and production period, and is the rainfall well spread out? These aspects remain critical to monitor. On the El Nino side, what has been indicated by IMD and other global agencies is
Yeah,
that the El Nino could pan out in the second half of the monsoon season. That's around August, September, and
correct.
that's on the production. When the crop is under the crop production phase, right, and that could have a bearing on the yield for crops. And if that does so pan out, it could lead to a slight inch up in prices, but that remains a monitorable, and that is not part of our base case. forecast
Okay,
as of.
okay. So since you pointed out that largely because of some of the factors, looking at it a bump up, but the other factors looking at a cool off, net, we are looking at similar prices going forward, maybe marginally lower in the next month or so. But for the rest of the calendar year, if I were to ask you to have, longer vision of it, how do the prices really move towards the end of this year?
Right. So again, agriculture remains an extremely volatile subject. But if I were to, sort of look at how the prices are expected to be over the long period, then in that case, what one can expect is that for paddy, as such, we can expect the prices to be range bound.
Okay,
For wheat, we can expect the prices for the coming months to be lower on year. In case of edible oil, we can expect the prices to be lower on year. Two important commodities, maize and soybean. And
sure.
these, why I say they're important is because they are also a large part of the animal feed, which impacts broiler prices, etc. Both of these are, while maize is expected to inch up, while soybean prices are expected to inch down. So they will have a
Okay.
mixed impact on the animal feed prices.
Okay, just for everybody to understand it more simply, if Mr. Sharma, you could just help me understand, 25.1 is the cost of one vegetarian thali in the month of May, 60 rupees and thereabouts for non-vegetarian. By the end of, as we approach the end of this year, by December, how will this, ballpark figure change?
Right. So we expect that by the end of December, there should not be a very meaningful jump in these prices for both vegetable as well as non-vegetarian thali
Yeah.
by December. There will
Okay.
be a regular growth that we see, but the kind
Okay.
of sharp increase that we have witnessed over the last year, that's something that we are not expecting.
Well, that sounds to be a good news. Then, Mr. Sharma, thank you so much for being with us on the show and discussing with us all the insights of your latest report, RRR, that is Roti Rice Rate, to help us really make out as to how the daily average vegetarian and non-vegetarian thali is priced at for the average common man in India right now, and what's the outlook going forward from here. So good news so far. There are going to be some of the products that make up your thali that may inch up higher, the others may cool off, and overall net it is likely to remain almost moderate at around 25 rupees for the vegetarian thali and around 60 rupees for the non-vegetarian thali. With that, we wrap up this special edition, but do stay tuned on to Business Today TV to catch all the updates from the world of business and stock markets. Don't go anywhere. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and also continue to engage with us on our other social media platforms as well. Until then, thanks for tuning in.
Hello and welcome to this Markets Today special. I'm Udayan Mukherjee.